it's tough. We're taking on the industry, and it's not always fun, but it's hugely rewarding. But I need the eaters, as you call them, to get on board and shop this, because then that will send the direct signal up the supply chain for farmers, producers, makers, suppliers to be in this space. They'll go, this is worth it. And that'll drive the engine, and that'll help the environment in the end.
That was Courtney McGregor, and you're listening to The Regenerative Journey. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and internationally, and their continuing connection to country, culture, community, land, sea and sky. And we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging.
G'day, I'm your host Charlie Arnott, an 8th generational Australian regenerative farmer. And in this podcast series, I'll be diving deep and exploring my guests' unique perspectives on the world, so you can apply their experience and knowledge to cultivate your own transition to a more regenerative way of life.
Welcome to The Regenerative Journey with your host, Charlie Arnott.
G'day, we're back at it again, part 2 of the interviews I put together the Land and Market Farming Matters Conference there in Albury just a few weeks ago. So first up on this part, Sam Johnson from Boxgum Grazing, not living too far from here. He and his wife Claire and family have a wonderful farming enterprise there with their on-farm butchering setup. Fascinating conversation with Sam there, lovely guy too. Nice to know he lives in the hood here, not too far away. David Marsh, of course, always a good yarn. We went all over the place there, as we usually do. Always enjoy my chats with David Marsh. Fascinating chap. So he wasn't actually presenting, but he was there. So I grabbed him as I try to do as often as I can. Courtney McGregor, she follows up David Marsh. She's a sustainability officer at Harris Farm Market, and I've been working with Courtney and the Harris boys for over a year now, putting together this It's All in the Soil campaign and helping verify their suppliers that can contribute and be identified in store to that campaign. So we chat about the significance of that in the regenerative farming space, their new shop in Albury there, and their contribution to the conference. And then the end of the follow-up, I should say, of part 2, Harry Youngman, who is a very, really interesting guy. I met Harry a couple of years ago. He did speak. He did a little prezzo at the conference. Now he's a founder of the Tiverton Agriculture Impact Fund. He's a keen soil carbon man and involved in that marketplace. Excuse me, and also compost making, farming. Fascinating. Got fingers and all sorts of pies, as Harry. But I'll catch up with him for a proper interview at some stage. So we had a yarn as well, and that was fantastic. And for anyone who loves Terry McCosker, I did a fascinating half an hour chat with Terry. It went over time because all the others were about sort of 10, 15 minutes, 20 most, max, I should say. Terry, I caught him at the very end of the day. I nearly stood him up. Actually, I did stand him up. At the end of the day there, forgot where I was going to meet him. But I've got that as half an hour, and that won't be on this one. That's going to be a bonus interview for our Patreon members. So anyone out there who's interested in Terry McCosker, who I am lining up to do a proper interview at some point, but I just caught him there at Albury there the other day, thankfully, half an hour interview. If you want to hear that, jump on to our Patreon platform, sign up for a membership of there's 2 tiers there. Choose the membership. You'll have to choose the higher membership if you want to listen to Terry and many other other member benefits, as it were. And just before we jump into the interview, I just want to let you know and remind you that Hamish Mackay and I will be down in South Australia with all those wonderful crow eaters down there at Barossa, the Barossa Valley, on the 3rd and 4th of May at the Alkena Wine Estate, there with Dan and Amelia and all those wonderful people. Now, just to make a note of that, we are just talking about how biodynamics applies to wine and viticulture. It is about horticulture. It's about broadacre. It's about small-scale garden. It's whatever you want to, however you want to apply biodynamics to your world and your life. So they're on the 3rd and 4th of May in the Barossa Valley at the Alkena Wine Estate, and on the 6th and 7th of May, that's later in that same week at McLaren Vale at Gem Tree Wines there with Melissa and Michael, who produce some amazing wines, as does the Alkena Estate. So just to reinforce that, you don't have to be a wine grower. You might want to be a grape eater, but not a wine grower or a winemaker to come to these courses down there in South Australia. They are open to everyone. So spread the news far and wide. We'd love to see you there. Tickets available on charliearnott.com.au and get all the details and tickets there. But I hope you enjoyed part 2 of the Albury Conference compilation. We're on again. My next victim.
Dragged him out.
I did, by the scruff of the neck. Sam Johnson. Sam is one half of Boxgum Grazing. The other half. Well, actually,
1/5 now.
I was going to say, there's more to it.
Yeah. No, Sid's there and
Claire
Annabelle and Molly too.
Yeah. Okay, so
I'm a part of
Sam.
A declining part.
He's 1/5. He's the cornerstone, aren't you?
Claire and I, yeah.
Claire, you're cornerstones of the business. Boxgum Grazing. Sam was very generous in his presentation last night at the I guess it was the opening reception of the Farming Matters conference here in Albury, and shared his story of what they do there at Marengo. Actually, you know what? I had a beef with you because you said, we're near Young. And I went, yeah, bloody, you should be saying you're near Burrawa. Are you closer to Burrawa or Young?
No, 25 k's to Young.
And how many to Burrawa?
Oh, sorry. No, you're probably right. We're about 35 to Young and 40 to Burrawa.
Oh, really? So you are closer to Young.
So
I can't
very
let you
close.
off. I thought you'd be going, I'm a proud member of the Burra community. Anyway, no, let's put that aside. You're forgiven. And about what Johnson's family doing there, which is fantastic. So we don't need to know all the details, Sam, but I guess can you give our – well, we're going to break this up into 2 bits. I want to know about you and Boxgum Grazing, just so our listeners can understand what – I guess the innovation that you've sort of implemented there, and then get your view on the conference so far.
Okay.
Let's start with Boxgum Grazing. I think that's the place to start.
Okay, well, Boxgum Grazing is it's a family farm there at Young in the woodlands, and we're doing a paddock to plate operation, selling grass-fed beef, lamb, and free-range pork. And we've also gone into vertical integration, so we have set up a butcher shop on farm to do all the boning and packing and smoking. And then we market everything ourselves direct to customers, either locally or predominantly in Canberra and restaurants in Canberra. And we're just starting to branch a little bit into delivering to Sydney if we can get the logistics worked out.
Are you doing, as in someone else is going to cover?
We'll hopefully, if we can find a good, reliable transport network. We've certainly had demand from there, but at this stage, predominantly Canberra's our market.
Feather and Bone, you doing?
I know Grant quite well and have sort of talked with him over many years.
I saw Grant sneaking around today.
Yes, yeah. No, I had a good yarn with him at lunch.
Yeah, good.
And we have sold to him in the past, but no, we've sort of focused in Canberra.
Locally, yeah.
And our whole thing has been about rebuilding biodiversity on the farm and the resilience of the farm, and also bringing livelihoods back onto the farm. So we've brought the processing and marketing back under our umbrella, which has allowed us to have the salaries for the next generations coming through, and allowed the next generations to step up into management and sort of us to ease back a bit and play a different role as we get older. And also particularly how to have a productive agricultural farm within a woodland habitat. We really, really want to have that improving and developing, increasing biodiversity for native species of all types. So, yeah, just how we can balance those two things or work those two things.
I think that's what the point you made last night was that you're incorporating, I guess, the habitat, the natural and the sort of the regenerated habitat with production.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not like, you're operating over there in isolation, the cows and the whatever over here.
No, very much trying to bring conservation and production together. And also the realisation that farmers control so much land that it's up to us to be responsible for the biodiversity. We can't rely on national parks or, non-farmed areas to support the biodiversity. That biodiversity is just good of its own, but it's also very good for our productive capacity, resilience, and the beauty it brings to the landscape. So, that's part of our remit too.
And boxgum grassy woodland, for those who aren't familiar with it, is I think they classify it as you might have the right terminology, sensitive or endangered.
It's an endangered ecotype, I think.
Ecosystem. So I guess it has to be some, reasonable amount of consideration as to what you're planting there, or management, or are you planting exotics as well?
Well, we don't plant anything.
Okay.
We haven't planted anything, and it's not a case of just having natives or whatever. All we try to do is work so that the ecological processes on the land are very functional, and whatever species are in the mix are what we work with.
Yeah.
And all of these species, either weeds or introduced grasses or shrubs or whatever, are really naturalised. They're part of the environment now. So there's no putting up a demarcation. And so we're finding a native grass species and introduced species spreading across different areas of the farm in different ways. You get some farm niches that support introduced ones. Other areas, the natives will dominate. Sometimes they coexist quite well together. And I think that's our best option. There's no use. We've just got to work with the ecological processes as they're happening, and ecology is constantly evolving.
That's a real paradigm shift, isn't it? For I think David Marsh, he talks about that a lot, and about sort of stepping away from control.
Yeah. And I think if we can, our job is to restore that health and vigour, and whatever way the ecology develops is probably the best way it's going to develop. And for us to try to block the process, one, will be very expensive and may degrade that vitality. And it's that vitality that, will build the soils again and what have you. And I mean, we find native birds eating introduced seeds, totally. It's part of their, it's part of their food cycle now. So,
as you say, it's that whole system is naturalised because it's there, and we can either keep fighting it and trying to rip it out, or poison it, or disturb it in some way, or just go, well, it is probably, as you just said, it's probably the best thing to be there right now because nature's decided that needs to be there.
Well, they're there, so it's an altered ecology from what it was, but ecology is always in transition. You never get to a point where it stays fixed.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a weather event that'll take species out for a while or encourage them. And I think what we do by not having the imagination to allow those species in is that we, basically lower the vitality of what we're dealing with. And I think that's to, ecological detriment, but to our detriment too.
Just wanted to switch to business, or I guess I'm just really, because some years ago you were kind enough to give us a tour of your. It wasn't actually hadn't been up and going for too long.
No, I don't think we did. We have the butchery in then.
I can't remember. It was gee whiz. That was probably 4 years ago now at least. Can we talk about that? I mean, I guess I'm curious to know, like, and you mentioned about now there's salaries that you can afforded to family members and so on. And, that for me is a dream to do that.
Yep.
and it's certainly not a pipe dream. It's like, I'd really love to do that because I can see the value. So really, it was a matter of, you mentioned it last night, we're paying X amount to butchers to do a job that we could do.
Yes.
So there's that essentially an offset, that saving.
Yep.
There's obviously the initial setup cost of the overhead or the capital improvement of setting up the butcher shop, but it's clearly been a good move.
It's been a well worthwhile move, and it was really driven by Sid when he decided to come back home. You know, Claire and I may have been quite happy if it was just us utilising the services of our local butcher, but we got to a point there where it was starting to impact on his business.
Yeah, right.
So
as in
we were growing,
yeah,
and he was finding hard to fit us in.
Yeah, okay.
So we left in very amicable terms, and in terms of being in charge of the quality and the transparency all the way through the process, it's way in front, you know. So and also for us learning as now the butchers about the different cuts, the way they're handled, how they need to be cooked. We've learned a whole lot about what it is we're selling, you know, before we put it in the bag. So, yeah, it's been very positive that way. And I think as certainly with any business there are weak links, and certainly with our business there's the production side and then the processing. So, you know, the butchers, the abattoirs are all points of weak links. If one of them drops out, I mean, we're in trouble that way. Then there's the transport and the marketing side. So
you're in control of more of those pieces.
Yes,
now.
Not the abattoir side. We use a local abattoir.
And would you ever consider putting a on farm abattoir?
Look, I think from the animal point of view, it'd be great.
Yeah.
I think the only issue is the costs involved and the regulation around it is, at my stage of life, I don't know if I would. I did have we did build a small poultry abattoir back in the 90s.
Wow.
And that was quite doable. It was not too expensive. Whereas once you step up to the bigger animals, you're talking pretty serious size operation and what have you. So, look, I wouldn't do that unless we were forced, but then certainly we'd consider it seriously.
So a big step forward just by having that processing facility on farm there now anyway.
Yeah.
Let's go to the conference, Sam. We are at Albury, the Farming Matters conference, and we're sort of heading into the afternoon's chit-chat. There's a panel session happening at the moment. What are your thoughts? Any sort of nuggets of gold that have been put on the table in front of Sam Johnson today, and you've gone, my God?
Look, I think a lot of it was a reiteration of concepts, but just put really well. I think Terry McCosker and Walter Jenner, just talking about the way in which carbon moves into the soil, the most effective way we as land managers can understand that process and build on that process was really good. You know, talking about the mycorrhizal life and the liquid carbon pathway and where we as managers can actually really work to get that carbon under the soil doing all the great stuff it does. I think that was that was something that really hit home.
Good reinforcement.
Yeah.
And isn't it a relief? Well, not it's a relief, reassuring that those guys, Terry and Walter are still at it.
Yeah.
After all these years.
Yep. And I think their words are falling in more fertile ground now.
Yes.
You know, when they started out, they were in the wilderness a bit. But now, I think we're starting to understand really a bit about our knowledge of these systems has grown a lot more, and particularly of the role of soil life. You know, it was just pushed so into the background with chemistry that, it's now actually taking the right place. And as a land manager, that's fantastic because we're working with plants.
With biology.
And biology, and if we're getting these messages that these are the things we need to work with, then that's a great way to be.
What? How do we? Not that we have to, but any any tips or any suggestions, or how do you find? I mean, you're at the coalface, as it were, with your eaters, your customers at in Canberra at Epic Markets.
At the Epic Markets. Yep,
So,
yep.
you know, what are you seeing in that interface there? Were people a bit more excited? Are they
I think so.
Better numbers?
I think when we first started out, a lot of people approached us for animal welfare issues.
Yeah, okay.
Particularly around pigs.
Yep.
You know, and we deliberately started with pigs because we knew that those issues around the industrial production of pork were concerning a lot of people, and people didn't eat pork because of that. So I think that was certainly very common thought in our early days. I think now the issue of carbon is much more on people's radar. There was always the issue around chemicals in farming, of course. But nowadays I think carbon and also, those issues of land degradation in relation to food production are more prominent. Along, of course, with the welfare issues and whether you're medicating or using chemicals and things like that. Husbandry practices, yeah.
Are you optimistic, Sam, of the...
Look, I'm very optimistic in the capacity of natural systems to regenerate if we can understand our role in that process. And seeing what we've been able to turn around just by changing our management to understand our role in coordinating and managing the plant-animal interaction, and then those great processes that underlie the ecosystem can then function effectively. So, I see great hope in our ability to understand how we can repair that ecosystem function and rebuild its sort of abundance. So that's the positive side, and I think it's great to keep focused on that, not the doom and gloom, because otherwise you won't jump out of bed.
Because nature's almost waiting for us to just do that, isn't it? Sort of like it's just going, just give us a little window here,
Yeah. We know what needs to happen, or we have the ability to repair it. And it's just we haven't been seeing it. So that's the lovely thing. And to see a bit of land come back to life, and you get the bird life and so you get all these values besides the food you're producing, and that that self-renewing organising system will just go on after you if you've restored the health and you don't get in the way or do the wrong thing again, is positive, and for people, I think we're such a critical part of it, that if we actually understand and change our role in it, that's very positive, because without us stepping up to the plate there, it's not good.
You're a very positive sort of fella, Sam, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Charles.
No, and thank you again, quite seriously, for sharing yesterday. And we're here all to share and to listen and learn, and what a wonderful opportunity there is. 300 attendees, 2 years plus of
and there's some great minds down here, and
totally,
it's a really collegiate atmosphere.
Totally, we should do this more often.
Yeah. Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks, Sam. Victim number. I'm not sure what number.
Good start.
Good start. You're scared.
I'm nervous, yeah.
You are. If you haven't recognised those dulcet tones, it's David Marsh. David is here as one of the 300 attendees, keen, passionate attendees of the Farming Matters conference here in Albury. David, you escaped somehow presenting or did you do something yesterday?
I think it might have been overexposure, Charlie. I think they're fed up with me.
Do you reckon the committee went, oh, not that day?
Yeah, not him again.
So David escaped, but you escaped an official capacity, but I've captured you here. David, I just wanted to get your thoughts on matters wide, near and far. Let's start with the conference. Any standout nuggets of gold that you went, that's a good phrase or quote or concept? Not that you're new to it all, but anyone? Any favourites? Any favourite presenters?
Charlie,
I'll put you on the spot.
You've put me right on the spot.
You won't get accused of favouritism.
It opened very well, didn't it? Daniela was, as usual, wonderful. And Alan Savoury, I think, was wise. There's been a few comments that he's exhorting us to try and get to the Prime Minister and convince him of some things. I think that's probably the negativity to that view is probably that it's sometimes been a little difficult to see the benefit in spending too much time trying to get change at the political level. But I think you've got to do a bit of everything, haven't you? You've got to do a bit of work in that space.
Some people love that space.
They do. And, I've heard while we've been here that, there's some interesting things that haven't been announced yet that are going to be announced in the energy sector. So,
did you get a whiff of something?
I wouldn't like to divulge the source, but no, there's been quite a bit of work being done to try and have a re-crack at the Carbon Farming Initiative protocols.
Okay.
And I don't know what's going to happen, but I've heard that something is going to happen to make it more accessible for people. So,
okay, that's good. Well, that's good news. Just without digging too deep there, I think I am an observer of the carbon market and not a contributor. Well, I may be contributing informally somehow in the paddock, but certainly not involved at all. And mainly because I'm just sort of not sure which way to jump in. Or if
I think everyone's been the same. But the thing we keep hearing is that the market is going to be up because there's going to be. The world's full of big emitters looking for places to offset their emissions, and the land sector is where they're starting to look.
So I guess that's a positive thing that there's more of a consciousness around that. Whether that actually gives big emitters license to do it or gets them off the hook.
I mean the whole deal with carbon offsets is for the price of the offsets to the big emitter. The idea is that cost of offsetting their emissions drives them to a lower emitting behaviour. That's the whole purpose of it.
You think it does?
I think it will.
Yeah, good. Okay.
I mean, people are. It's happening quite fast. I think we're moving to transitioning to renewables quite quickly.
Well, I guess the pressure is certainly on for businesses, big and small, big emitters, and those are not emitting too much, but just to be more conscious of it. So I think that's a positive step.
Yep.
Any other positive things you picked up, Dave? I've given you a couple of minutes of thinking time.
Yeah, no, that doesn't help actually.
Not when you're talking.
72.
Not when you're talking at the same time.
No, look, I think Lorraine Gordon was great. It's great to see the energy that's going into that course. And she's got a lot of energy, hasn't she? Lorraine,
she's right. Yeah,
she's really good. So look, I think it's been a fantastic conference so far. I mean, I think I was nervous about the short time frames they've given people to talk. I mean, I'd struggle to say anything in 15 minutes, as you know, but. But no,
you'd be getting that ding-a-ling-a-ling.
Yeah, that's right. But no, whilst it probably doesn't allow people to expand too much, it does get everyone to concentrate on the nitty-gritties. Looking forward to your session of clairvoyance. What's agriculture going to look like by 2050?
Well, I did have a quick chat with Gabrielle, who's the.
She'll have some deep questions for you.
Thankfully she introduced herself and we had a quick chat, and I've been primed up somewhat.
Okay,
so
good. Not like me, just straight off the graph.
Yeah, but you're old. Well, not old. You're wise.
Jeez,
You're old and wise. Let me put the wise and older than me. So you have years more experience in pulling these things together just at the last minute. So that's a good point. And I think the topic is what do we see the future of agriculture in 2030 and 2050? What do you reckon?
Well, I don't know, Charlie, but I'll tell you what I would like to. I drove down here from Burra yesterday, and this is what is it? It's March, end of March.
Yes.
So it's
the last day of.
Yeah.
Oh, nearly.
And we've had a rainy summer. We escaped the bullet of a huge biomass drying off and a dangerous fire season, which we all were facing with some dread. But it's extraordinary to drive down the highway and around locally and see country after the biggest spring anyone can remember with not much grass on it here and there.
And I have to.
Are you finding that?
Yeah, well, I drove from Melbourne yesterday,
right.
and I saw.
How's Victoria looking? I can nearly see it, but you were in it.
I was driving through right through the middle. I'd have to say, on reflection, that there's some paddock size that were like bowling greens, but I think that was more to do with very high stocking rates of alpacas and some sheep, novelty sheep. Right. But having said that, though, that was the extreme. But having said that, you're absolutely right. There wasn't the bulk of feed that you would expect after. And I'm not that familiar with what the season's done down here, but still, I think generally in the east coast of Australia, or this corner and down Victoria and Burra and elsewhere, I would have thought more grass. I was in East Gippsland last week, and it was not dissimilar. Not as much grass. However, the farm I was on had good grass. It was actually quite. Obvious that the different styles of management on the way. A lot of horses down there too, a lot of dairy actually. And I was thinking, gee, where's that grass for those cows? I guess
I'm feeling like Rachel Ward now. I've taken over the interview. I'm interviewing you now.
He's very clever. Now stop it, David. Now, what are you flicking through that program for? You're trying to jog your memory.
I was just trying to remember who I was thinking were. I mean, I think everyone's been really good actually. But
how good's Walter?
Yeah, Walter's excellent. He, if anything, he suffered today from not having the white, the butcher's paper. Do you remember that talk he gave down at Nutrisoil? Were you there that day?
I was there last year. Well, I didn't have one last year. Year before I was there.
Yeah.
Might have been the year before that.
Year before that. Yeah, I was there that year. It was, I think Charlie Massey had just published his book.
Okay. Yeah.
And Walter spoke there, and he had the butcher's paper, and he did what he did today, but it was visual as well.
Yeah.
And it was just brilliant, And apparently it was recorded. Somebody flicked it to me today.
The one that was
the one that
Nutrisource.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I've seen Walter do an impromptu whiteboard moment.
That's when he's at his best.
Yeah. And he. But what I love about Walter, and I mentioned it to someone else I was chatting with before, is the way he can just. He's very intelligent man, science based. Academic, not more than academic, but the way he delivers it is just so. It's like
it's like having a chat over a cup of tea.
Totally, and it's it's not full of a whole lot of jargon, and you're not trying to struggle to keep up. He's really. I just love the way he explains it.
He's so all over the subject that he doesn't have any distractions to explain things because they're self-evident when he talks.
Totally, it just rolls off the tongue and wonderfully compelling. What else have you?
Actually, the first speech. I don't know whether you heard Jenny Bell. Did you?
I did.
That was absolutely brilliant. I thought, she's got this incredible artist's eye, and I'm very conscious of that now when I'm in her presence. But to translate what she sees in the landscape into the images that she put up with the project she did with the Coghlan's, I just thought it was brilliant. And I spoke to her afterwards, and she said she was very nervous. I said, well, it didn't come across, Jenny.
She was
and it was absolutely, I thought it was really beautiful.
It was fantastic. What do you think if Jenny had to draw David Marsh?
What would she crikey. Draw? I think she'd need a long time to sort of, I don't know whether do you think she'd capture me?
Do you reckon
probably be a black square.
Would she draw a thistle?
Well, has she probably been to Burra lately? Lynn Sykes was great.
Yeah. No.
She was terrific. I'm not going to verbalise her quote.
She was very funny. She was saying she was nervous. She may well have been, but it was very funny. And look,
but she's had, as she said, some incredibly deep moments at very difficult times for many, many families in difficult circumstances. So, while she's obviously helped a lot of people, but some people have come to her probably when it's almost too difficult to have a solution.
And I think I'm right in saying her sort of phrase she said a few times, which I've no doubt is true, is like she mastered the art of being hated. Is that? Was
she
one?
did say that.
So
it would be hard to hate, I reckon.
Oh, that's right. And I guess that there, in there lies the frustration and the anger and the pain of a succession planning situation that's not going well. And I can't remember the phrase. I wrote it down here. Functional family.
A functional family.
I like the idea of that.
Yes.
She would have come across many dysfunctional families.
She would have, yeah. Maybe you don't know how functional you are until the chips are down.
Totally.
That's when you might find out whether you're functional or not.
Well,
it's a funny thing, when I was a kid, my parents were very lovely people, and they were demonstrable in their affection for each other. But it was at a time when I think in society we weren't telling each other we love each other every second of the day. I don't remember my parents actually saying that to me ever, but I never doubted that they did because of their behaviour. That was a really steadying thing in life, really, to have that as a child growing up. Yeah,
I think I'm not sure if my mum and dad's going to listen to this. They probably will, knowing David Marsh is on. They'd probably definitely say that. I didn't hear that too often. I hear it more often now.
I saw what they were doing with you. And look at you now.
And case in point, you and I and many others did boarding school, and Angelica, she's I don't know how you survived that, and you're a reasonably balanced kind of individual to have got through that, and I think a balanced, solid,
was this a self-reflection?
You've done it again. You've turned this right around. Stop it. This bloke's good. Now, I'll break that train of thought.
No.
What else is you having a bit of a squeeze?
Well,
Brian's always
Matthew Wonkin.
I miss Matthews because I was out here.
He's gone right round you for hair, mate. You've got to really step up to go around Matthew Wonkin.
Okay, I will do. I'm going to have to sharpen my pencil, aren't I?
Absolutely, and the scissors.
And the scissors.
No, he's an interesting guy, and he's those sort of people are. They're great at talking, aren't they? They've got to be good talkers because they've got to form relationships to get their business going.
Well, totally, and that's what it's about, building trust and confidence in potential clients and current clients. So that's marketing, as it were, is something that farmers haven't really had to do ever before. Is it?
True.
Talk to their agent who then does the marketing in a conventional sense.
Yeah, but no, I think Dr. McCosker was fantastic. Dr. McCosker.
Do you refer to him as doctor?
That's his doctor.
Oh, I know, but do you say hello, doctor?
No.
Hello, good.
No, Terry
Dr.
and I, we're the same age. We call each other Dave and Terry.
Dave and Tez.
But no, Terry's a man of great patience, isn't he?
You've hit the nail on the head. You must have been listening to my previous couple of interviews, David, because that came up a couple of times.
Right. How long's Terry been sticking with the idea of carbon link? And I think it's just about to burst into life.
And I
hope it does. I hope it does because
totally.
He's such a considered individual, I think, Terry.
And not unlike Lynn's 30-year career. I think she referenced 30 years. Walter.
Yep.
They've all been at it and as Sam Johnson said earlier,
what now? Talk about a standout. Wasn't that fantastic?
Which one?
Sam
last
Johnson.
night.
Oh, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Where's he been hiding? Out at Windermere on the end of a knife.
Well, you know what? I was saying to him, what he referenced? He said, where it, I don't think he said Maringo, when you're young.
Yeah.
And I said, you should be saying in your Burrawa. That's people know Burrawa better than that. Come on. Where's your pride?
Yeah. No, I thought, not everyone's going to do what Sam's doing. It's a huge undertaking. But, you cheer like mad for people that want to do that and are doing it so well.
Not instigator, but
and
certainly.
he's got the people.
Yeah.
His family have come home, I mean, that's an incredible effort, really.
And he acknowledged that, he and Claire are sort of stepping away from management as such, and Sid and other members of the family sort of certainly were spearheading the move to on-farm processing. And I think that's it is a wonderful story.
It is. But I'm not saying but. I'm saying
everything before but is a lie.
And as well as that being wonderful, the outcomes of management using the processes we're all thinking about here, holistic and regenerative, the outcome of that has to be an improving landscape with people with good health and an economic profit. That's a true profit. And unless agriculture moves in that direction, we're in trouble. That's
certainly been a theme here, hasn't it? That David Farley was speaking about.
Yeah, he was interesting.
Interesting, and David is. I'm not sure I'm going to track him down. I hope so, but in cotton, the perception around cotton as an industry is not the most sort of, I guess, regenerative or even sustainable kind of industry. Just because of a lot of chemical use and a lot of sort of
Well, it's a big version of all of us in the past. We're a microcosm of that same process,
pretty much,
and we're all trying to atone for our wickedness. Part of which is talking to you.
How rude! But I was relief is not the right word, but I was pleased to see David on the thing, because I sort of didn't know where he was in the world really, and he's sitting fairly squarely in the vicinity. So I think that was a positive message. And there's Harry Youngman talking about what they're doing at Tiverton and so on.
That was fascinating.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there's a I guess there's a bit of a theme about investment, as it were, into this space. And actually, we're not allowed to say space anymore, are we?
Oh, well, Lorraine said it a lot after you couldn't say it.
Oh, she loves breaking rules. Who said we?
Len, I think Len was talking about.
She was sick of
in this space.
What do we call
moving forward? Even worse.
Moving forward.
Or pivoting. I haven't adopted that at all. I don't think I've said it except just then. But these expressions come and go, don't they?
They do, and you're always going to offend someone with the wrong expression.
I think we're pretty safe though, aren't we?
Yeah, no, we keep it all above board.
Yep.
Look at the time, David. I'm conscious that the afternoon session.
We've gone. No, surprisingly, we've gone over time.
No, I love it. It's great. Okay, that was. Thank you for your time. I don't want to race you out of here. I'm just conscious that the afternoon
about to begin.
I can hear,
but I'm really looking forward to this clairvoyance session. with Gabrielle.
I'm going to defer to David Marsh.
I didn't realise that Gabrielle was actually on the session here, but I bumped into her in the cafe in Burrawa one day.
She's from Harden.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Married to the best-looking schoolboy in New South Wales.
Who was that?
Dick Hart.
Don't know.
Richard Hart.
I don't know.
Oh, no. The best-looking. He should have been a model, Dick. I think he might have been at one point.
Oh, really?
But no, she was fantastic, and I bumped into her in the coffee shop, and we were talking about all this stuff, and then she told me she was writing a book.
Yes,
another book.
Yeah, this is recently. She mentioned it before.
She's writing another book, and she sort of half hinted that I might be in this clairvoyant session that you're in. So I'm pleased I didn't get a gong, really.
Oh no, I'm gonna call in sick. And say, but I do know David is chomping at the bit to answer the questions. I'm going to stumble.
It'll be a session of talking about what we hope is going to happen.
Deep. Well, won't be. Well, I guess it could be touching on some deep reflection,
session,
but it's
the hope session.
Hope session. Yeah, that's what we're going to call it. The session of hope and prayer. David, lovely to have you on again. I'm going to pull all these together, all these victims into one episode,
yes.
I think. So you're now officially a contributor.
You're going to turn the victims into – you're going to victimise all your listeners.
I'm trying to think of how many – so you're I have to have a quick look here. Who have I spoken with? No, actually no one I've spoken with today have I interviewed yet. Already.
Okay.
So
you've got a rich field there, Charlie.
Yeah, that's it. I've got a heap of people I haven't tracked down. Terry's going to be coming up next, hopefully.
I think a good session for you would be to interview the wives of some of the people you've interviewed and see what their perspective is.
What, and see whether they were lying or not? I should get them to listen to the audio.
I mean, I think my wife could probably quote all the things I jabber about on the phone all the time. She's been listening to it for 30 years.
Oh, I'd love to have a chat with Mary because I
think you'll be lucky to get it. I think you'll be lucky to get it. She only came in with the cake and put it out at arm's length, didn't she, before?
That wildly alcoholic Christmas cake. No, Rachel Ward, I did interview there before, and she has been on the show. So, no, you're no Lone Ranger there.
Yep.
Okay, we better get to the afternoon session, and I need to line up Terry and a few others. Thanks, David. Appreciate that. Lovely.
Are you looking for more information to assist you on your regenerative journey? We've created an online community of supporters with exclusive access to interview transcripts, live online Q&A sessions with Charlie and his interviewees, as well as the opportunity to be interviewed on the show yourself. If you would like to be part of this community or would simply like to contribute to the development of the podcast series, please make your way to patreon.com/The Regenerative Journey podcast. We look forward to you becoming a member of the Regenerative Journey community. Let's get back to this week's episode.
I've finally caught up with Courtney McGregor, who's my next victim in this quite off-the-cuff little episode we put together here at the Farming Matters conference in Albury. I've said that line about 12 times today. Everyone's going to be so Reece might have to just take that out of every episode, every interview, because it's like, oh, no, we know where you are. So Courtney is the Sustainability Officer at Harris Farm, and I'm going to put in a note to the Harris boys that your job description needs to be changed to the Regenerative Officer, Regeneration Officer. Tell me why. Just sit that near you.
Thanks, Charlie. I love that you've caught me at the end of the conference where my head is spinning after being in all these panel discussions, and I'm buzzing. It's the vibe you always talk about. I'm really I'm feeling the vibe, the region vibe down here in Albury.
It's quite intoxicating, but it sounds a bit wanky.
I'm a bit tired.
So let's talk about why you're here, why Harris Farm were as one of the major sponsors, and why Angus was here last night.
I know. I'm so glad he was here last night. So yeah, we're here because we were the sponsor of the reception. We're also a market partner of Land to Market, and we're here because we're here for the greater goodness, and that's what Angus's talk was about last night. And what's really warmed my heart today is people come to me and they go, Courtney, this feels really genuine. Not just some big retailer saying that they're doing this. Like Angus and the family in the business really believe in this. And we're here because we back regenerative farming. And I'm really proud and excited to say that finally, because we've been working on this for a while. It's been about 18 months. And recently in February, we got to launch that in store and online. So we're here at the conference because we really want to have a presence in regen and let suppliers and growers and producers know that we're on the lookout. We want more regen products in our store. And so it's really a privilege to be here. I'm so thrilled. And just as in terms of just more of what Angus was saying last night, which is also, we're just in a really privileged position as a food retailer to actually make a difference. Our business is purely dependent on healthy soil. And so we need that. And we also believe that we can actually help in the fight against climate change. And so how cool is that? We can help our business, but then we can also get carbon cycling and remove it, get it out of the atmosphere into the soil where it really needs to be, and drive those ecosystems. So I just think that's so cool that we can be part of the solution, or what we call is the soil-lution. But
no, I love it.
Yeah, because everyone thinks agriculture might, is just the problem, and it's not. We can genuinely make a difference, and that's so cool.
And what I'm loving about, and I'm working with you guys, and really honoured to be doing so, and really enjoying that. And what I'm struck with is that the Harris family and the boys and the team are really sincere in what they're doing. They don't have to do this, right? I mean, the business is growing. People love Harris Farm, and this is not something that they're going, this is something that they've chosen to do, because they've acknowledged the importance of soil, and also what they're doing is they're facilitating a wonderful role in the middle of farmers who are growing food, and not everything in store is regenerative, of course, but this is the way they're heading. They're supporting farmers who are growing food, and they're facilitating that to the tables of eaters, of consumers, of their clients, and they could just keep doing that and go buy, sell, and on they go and grow. But what they've chosen to do is to be a conduit for information, education, storytelling, and encouragement and support of the farmers who are growing food regeneratively, acknowledging that in store, and letting their customers, the eaters, know about it and go, this is the sort of stuff you could and should be supporting, because it's not just nourishment in your gob for your family. It just goes back to contributing to the health of the planet, without sounding too grandiose.
No, and I love it because we actually, and I think you deserve a big shout out here. We needed your help, and we humbly came to you saying, look, we aren't farmers. We're the retailer, and we take that position really seriously, that we do have that influence to communicate to customers. But we needed you to make it genuine, because you can speak to the farmers, the suppliers, and make sure that you're verifying what they're actually doing on farm is true. And then we will do our job in communicating that, getting customers on board. Because that's what we'd love to say to everyone is, if you want to be a part of helping the fight against climate change, shop regen. That's something that we're calling out in store and online. We'll get better at it. We have about 138 products right now, and we want to grow that. And it's genuine. It's a genuine campaign, and I'm really grateful that you've been by my side, because it's tough. We're taking on the industry, and it's not always fun, but it's hugely rewarding. But I need the eaters, as you call them, to get on board and shop this, because then that will send the direct signal up the supply chain for farmers, producers, makers, suppliers to be in this space. They'll go, this is worth it, and that'll drive the engine, and that'll help the environment in the end.
Create that demand, which is so important. If we can create an economy, a retail food system economy that is based on demand, then food is not wasted. Food doesn't have to be stockpiled, and just and farmers are incentivized to actually, they're growing food knowing where it's going to go before they plant that seed, before that calf is born or that lamb is born. And that's a wonderful position for farmers to be in, to know that they're supported beyond the farm gate, and become food growers, not just commodity growers, commodity makers, as I used to be, a maker of commodity. Courtney, you have been privy to, or most, you probably have to duck out for some, refreshments every now and again, but you've probably been privy
I do need to eat. I am an eater too. I'm actually a really good eater.
You don't look it. So what were any standout, nuggets of gold that were just popped out of someone's mouth in the last 12 hours or however long?
Oh my God. I always enjoy hearing Chris Balaj from Provenir speak. He was just recently on a panel, and a lot of what we're trying to do and helping the environment is really about change management and really taking on big challenges, and it can be exhausting. And he did a big shout out for just making sure you look after your mental health. I thought that was really just a nice reminder. But he always makes me laugh because he goes, what did he say? He goes, to make things easier, he goes, just put wheels on it. And just the way he said it was just like obviously like figurative wheels. But if you're trying to push the proverbial uphill, that after a while, it's quite exhausting. And I just loved that analogy of just put wheels on it. It gets a lot easier to push.
It was a bit like Walter's when he said, he's talking about bioreactors, like nature's created these bioreactors that just are amazing creatures, being ruminants, in all their different shapes and sizes. And then I can't remember quite how he phrased it, but he said, and then it was decided to put legs on them, and that made it even easier to get around. I love
that. They got a laugh at everyone.
He's a classic, Walter. He's just, I'll bang on. I won't bang on about Walter again.
There's a few characters, aren't there? You're one of them.
No, not at all. I'm just riding the coattails of the David Marshes and the Terry McCoskas and the Walter Yenners of the world. I'm just really honoured to be here, and to be speaking with so many wonderful people and be privy to such wonderful conversations, I mean, this is a pretty, I know I'm banging on a bit about it, and it's a pretty feel-good kind of a day and conference to be at, but I mean, it is uplifting, and it's really compelling. And yes, we've heard some of this stuff already, and it does just reinforce what some of us already know, or we sort of, acknowledge, but we need that. Otherwise, people can sort of get a bit downhearted and sort of, I don't know, it's just good to sort of, get back in the saddle.
Well, I feel so grateful that we can actually meet in person, because I really love that. I'm a real people person. And so at one moment we had Alan Savory on the video, dialing in from South Africa. And I thought, this is so cool. We're so used to now communicating and getting information from screen, people behind a screen. But how cool that we all got to sit in that audience and listen to him, his wise words. And I thought, God, this is awesome that we get to all be together, because there's a real energy in the room. And I'm happy to finally be here to meet the people that I've been reading about, watching YouTube videos. There's Martin Royds, there's Terry McCosker. They don't realize it, but I've been, secretly stalking their websites and their content. And I now get to meet these people and go, yes, I finally get to connect.
Because you were coming last year as well.
Yeah, we were going to come here last year. I think it was right. We had just gone down to Melbourne. I remember I saw you and we got to hear Dr. Zach Bush speak.
It was only a week or two later.
And I think we were like high-fiving each other, being like, yeah, this is happening. We're really going to go to customers and push region.
Yep.
And then literally the pandemic was announced by the World Health Organization, literally that week. And I was like, but then it gave me this whole year to really go, okay, let me make sure my ducks are in a row. And so I'm actually really glad we had a year to kind of get a little bit better what we were going to come out to the public with. And so thanks so much for letting me speak here. I really wish you had one of the Harrises here, because they're the voice behind this, and I'm just the doer. I have the privilege to make this happen, but they've got the vision. Well,
full credit to you too, Courtney, for being so diligent and at the coalface of all this. And Angus, who was here last night and sort of responded to the reception, and what I have got, and I think you mentioned it there before, the feedback I've got is that was really cool. Like, these guys are really serious. They're sincere about this. It wasn't like, look, we're just going to throw some freebies over there on that table and, I've opened a store in town and whoopie-doo. Like, their heart and soul's in it, because, they have their own family farm up in the Blue Mountains. They are practicing some regenerative techniques and things up there and philosophies. And, they don't have to do this sort of thing. They can just poke along doing their thing and growing, but they've decided to really create a new standard in retail in Australia. I think that's something that you should be really proud of, and you should be proud of as well. And look, the bigger guys probably will start doing this too, but
I hope they do.
Yeah, that would be a good thing.
We need that. They've got bigger impact than we do, but we like to be the leaders. We wanted to stir the pot, get things going, and absolutely we'd love for them to get on board and start converting their supply chains.
And I think the great thing about Harris Farm is that you are big enough to have an impact, small enough to just get the job done and do it with sincerity and integrity, because you have relationships with your farmers. The bigger guys are a bit further away from that, and there's not quite that transparency. I can say that somewhat from experience. And I think that's, you're well placed to be in this role, Harris Farm, and that's really cool. Hey, any other nuggets of gold that you can think of that were standout quotes, funnies, I don't know, fangirl moments?
I'd have to go through my notes.
David Marsh was here before, and he grabbed the program just there and he was flicking through it.
Okay, let me do the sound effect. The sound effect of the flick through. I am actually flicking
I'm here
through.
clicking my pen, I think, so don't worry about the paper flapping around there.
Oh gosh, there was you've caught me just straight out of one of the sessions, and
I enjoyed Lynn Sykes. She was great.
Oh my God, do you know what? I think Lynn. That's what I was trying to find, because I actually found...
You got a huge amount of notes here. That's great.
You'll actually see I literally put love hearts next to Lynn's speech. So that was like I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but I actually felt moved by her speech. And I think I just even got a bit teary, because I just was like, wow, I think what she did was, hopefully I can reiterate this correctly. She was talking about stewardship. And I know I originally come from the packaging and recycling industry, and we talk about packaging and product stewardship, looking after the products that you put into the marketplace, make sure they get recycled. And so that's how I kind of know it. And then she related it to humans and families and how you look after each other and your family. And that's what's important. And that's what will translate in the paddock and then down the line. And I just thought there's the moment she said it, I think that's when I started drawing hearts. Because I was like, oh, love for Lynn. And so she's one of the people who I haven't been able to meet yet. And I'm going to probably try to stalk her tonight at the dinner.
Yeah, good.
That was really cool. It was a good moment.
And she, because there's I guess the role, or one of the roles she plays, or the part of this puzzle that she's involved in, is the people side of it, and a really pretty raw part of that people puzzle, that this is often families don't, by the time they come to the table with Lynn Sykes, it can be pretty raw and messy, and what she has had to do and deal with, and the grief and the trauma and the mediation is extraordinary, and I trust that there's been a huge amount of satisfaction for her as well in doing that, knowing that there's lives have been saved, no doubt, because of her work, because that's how serious it can get. So I'm going to try and track her down, hopefully, in between the last session and dinner, if I can. You've
done so well, Charlie. It's so fun having you. It's just so everyone knows he's such a celebrity here. Even like there was a cocktail waitress last night. Remember the lady? And so she was. So there she is. She's in her uniform and she's collecting glasses, and Charlie's speaking to everyone, and she had a fan moment for you, and she's like, great. She goes, "Do you mind if I just wanted to say hello? I listened to your podcast," and you were like, "Oh my goodness!" And you gave her the time. You stopped what you were doing. And you chatted with her, and that she actually said she couldn't get a ticket to come here, so she worked here so that she could sort of just be in the room with this these key messages. So that was really cool. It's fun hanging around next to you at these sort of conferences.
Well, look, it's I guess it's. I was just saying to David before, the caliber of the people here, and it's a wonderful thing that one can be, at a conference with people you want to hang out with. It doesn't happen every day. We do it online, and we bump into people here and there, but to have a room for them and to run into girls. Was it Amelia? No. It was started with A. I'm sorry you listened to this, but it was so wonderful that you said, and I know you're doing permaculture at TAFE and you do organic farming, and I was really stoked that you said g'day and you're doing this, and here you are working nights, and have a dream, which is really cool, So, and that's the idea of the chats we have and the podcast and the whole thing is like if that helps people get one step closer to their vision, their dream, or even creating one in the first place. So that's a great thing. I had a great chat with Brian Warburg before about, what are some of the first steps? He said, well, you got to identify your values and create that vision, that can be applied to anything. Don't forget the farm. Just go, what do I want for my family and my life and my, as me as an individual. So I'm forever learning and forever grateful that we can't use this word space anymore. Remember who said that? Was it Lynn?
That was so funny.
That was kind of good because it is a bit overused. So we're trying to work out what it is. Is it this world we live in? This stuff. It's just stuff, man. Okay, we got more stuff to get through this afternoon, Courtney. And just another plug for Harris Farm. If you are in the Albury area, or even if you're in Melbourne or Sydney, it's worth a drive down the highway to the biggest Harris Farm in the world. In the universe even, and it is enormous and it is so worth the trip because we had a squiz there yesterday afternoon and so impressed, just upping the ante again, and I think I trust that this is, a reflection on or a sort of a hint of what's to come, and it's just, I've spoke to one of the councillors last night and just my brother-in-law and just people, everyone's just like, my brother-in-law said, is he? He said, I've been, but he can't get in. Saturday morning, just forget it. It's just packed. So everyone's just super stoked about Harris Farm here in Albury, and it's with all sincerity, I think it's fantastic, and it's just upping the ante, and I hope the big guys are listening and watching.
Oh, well, thanks for being a part of this journey with us.
It's been fun.
And just for everyone, we did do some great we grabbed some good footage last night of wandering through the store, and you got to talk to Angus and talk through what this is all about. And so we're really looking forward to just continuing to tell the story. So look out for our social media posts, and let us know. I mean, are we doing this right? I hope so. Like we're really we're putting our best foot forward, and we welcome feedback. And
just to clarify things too, just quickly, because there was some sort of questions and queries, and I'm sorry if I don't get back to people about them all the time, but my role in one of my roles is to verify the practices of suppliers, and that sounds a bit vague, but is an objective and a subjective evaluation or verification. It's not certification. I talk to every producer. I suss out and with questions and understanding not just their practices but their community involvement. I check their website and make sure that's congruent with the discussions we've had. They fill out a survey which is verifies on paper their practices and becomes, I guess, evidence of what they've told us. So there is a degree of trust there. And also it allows them to, create some collateral that Harris Farm can then use. So it's a really good opportunity for those suppliers and Harris Farm to get a really good understanding. And that's my role, and I'm really happy and really honoured to be doing that. And I just wanted to say that it's not a certification. No one gets a certificate of, you're certified. I'm not a big fan of certification. Verification is different, and this is what we're doing. And I'm really stoked to be involved, and that Harris Farm are using this verification method. And look, I'm sure people would like to challenge that, but
that's okay.
Fine.
I mean,
cool.
it can evolve.
Yeah.
And we've had positive feedback. We've had a few questions about it, and even at this conference, and people were like, "Well, talk me through how you do this." And I just bring it back to the end. The whole point is we're trying to connect what's happening on farm, the awesome things, the farming practices that are happening on farm, and relay that to customers and connect. I know this is important to you. Is for what do you call us? Urbanites.
Urbanites.
So suburbanites. So that we actually, so that we actually know it's like we don't know what's going on in the land, how our food is grown, raised, and customers love that. They want to know, and so that's what we're calling out in store. So if you do go in store and shop region, you'll see these little icon systems that we come up with that calls out the farming practices, and that's what Charlie has verified with a supplier, producer, or grower. And we look to grow that and improve it if it needs improving. It's also online, by the way, as well. So that we've got a shop region collection. So you can actually if you wanted to just see what was there, it's not, I think I might have mentioned, we've got about 138 products now, and we're looking to grow that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of wine and cheese right now. We need to diversify.
There's like 136 items of wine and cheese. And we're looking also for any, producers, suppliers, growers who would like the opportunity just to, just to be considered for that.
This is a call out.
That is, so there's, I'm not sure how much I can say. I actually don't even know how much I know, but there's expansion plans. There'll be, from what I understand.
Yes.
I was looking at the blueprint last. No, I wasn't. If they're not expanding, then they're mad. So, regional areas, other states, and I think, and sourcing locally just makes so much more sense, And I'm really pleased to see in the Albury shop, the little bloody sign saying, calling out, saying I'm local, and that's fantastic because that's what these food systems are about. Totally,
whenever we go to a new region, we want to support local and call that out in store. We can't do it with everything, but we do give that. We want to customize and personalize to the area when we open a new store.
That's right.
So hopefully customers see that and the local producers feel that there's a pull.
Totally. So there you go. Thank you, Courtney.
I love sitting here with you. This is so fun.
This is fun. Yeah, we should have like a show, the Harris Farm show.
The Courtney and Charlie show.
What's on special today, Court?
Let me tell you.
Yes.
Thank you, Charlie.
That was fun, and we've got more action this afternoon, and then we've got dinner tonight, and then it's an official wrap sometime this evening, so I have to grab a few more people, but thanks for your time, Courtney.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Harry Youngman, you're my next victim on the Regenerative Journey Albury Farming Matters Roadshow that has just sort of come out of nowhere. How are you?
I'm well.
It's been a while. We met 18 months ago Colac on the back of the From the Ground Up.
That's it.
Conference with Matt and Ange Joyce there, and I haven't seen you since. I've been following you vicariously. You wouldn't start stalking. You haven't seen me. I was a bit like that fox we were just talking about.
Yeah. No, I don't do social media, so I wouldn't know if you were.
Harry, you did a little prezzo this morning as part of a bit of a panel session, as it were, about what you're up to. I wanted to sort of break this little session into two. One is what you're up to, and what sort of some of the condense some of what you talked about into some golden nuggets, as it were, and then also just we'll talk about the conference. You happy to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I promise it won't be too painful.
Well,
tell me what you're talking about this morning.
I'm going to start with the conference.
Oh yeah, that's probably a better way to do it.
Yeah,
ease up. Why are we here? What's happened?
No, because I just found some of the presentations this morning were able to put into words so well and so clearly. Walter, in particular, I thought was absolutely outstanding for me. Really, really struck a chord. I've seen Terry present before, and he's a master orator.
Yes.
And gets the message across really succinctly and very powerfully. So it was great to see him again. But Walter, with the soil science, for me, just nailed it.
And I love, and I've said it 12 times today, and in when I've been chatting with others earlier today, Harry. But I'll say it again because I just love Walter. He's the way he can just turn potentially complex sort of concepts into layman's terms and very, very easily and very digestible chunks.
I've got a job for him.
What is it?
What I want to do, and I saw it a few years ago at the Hamilton Sheep Convention, where a guy had a virtual reality camera, and you put it on, and you could dive into the soil and roll around in the soil and watch all of the microbes doing their different functions in a cartoon manner. And I thought, what a great education device that would be. And if you could wrap around Walter's narrative around what was going on in the soil, I think it would be a fantastic thing to get out.
So what you saw at Hamilton was it a dive into soil, or was it a dive into wool or something?
No, it was a dive into soil.
Really?
Yeah.
So people are doing that.
Well, I can't even remember who. I think Elders had it, actually.
Yeah, right.
It was a girl in the Elders tent or something.
Was it animation, or was it like someone has jammed a camera in there somehow?
No, it was animation. Yeah. Which got the point across. Because
Totally.
you can never see in the soil. You're never going to be able to, and it's not dynamic. And
down to the bazillion
microns.
But
you can get the same message across using animation.
And he's got a very animated voice too. That'd be perfect. Okay, there's a project, Harry. One more to add to your list of things, given what I know about you. I don't think you need any more on your table. That won't stop me from hitting you up. That was a good idea. Harry, what do you reckon? Yeah, tell me more. What about the conference? Any other gold nuggets, particular sort of standouts?
The word passion came out a lot. Focus, goals, don't lose your way.
Yeah.
You aim at nothing, you'll usually hit it.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. So
guaranteed.
It's just good to reaffirm that. And also, it was good coming together of a lot of people that have taken a lot of risk and gone out on a limb, been ridiculed, pushed their way through, and coming out the other side now.
It must be somewhat of a relief for those presenting who have been at it, for a long time, to be, invited more and more often to these sort of functions where it's a friendly crowd.
I agree.
I mean, I know that although they all have challenges, otherwise they wouldn't have done it for 30 years.
It was interesting, though, that Harris Farms were here and supporting it, and I had a chat to Courtney, I think it was, afterwards, and it just makes so much sense for them to be on the front foot, adopting, making it a big part of their platform, and certainly we want to engage and take our produce to them.
Yeah, totally.
But also, explain the message about what we're doing regeneratively, let them do their marketing, hopefully make more margin out of our produce by selling to interested customers. And that's how it's going to get driven.
Well, if you guys are selling more product and they're getting more margin, you are, and, that's got to be a good thing for the other end of it, the eaters, to go, okay, clean, nutritious, good value, bingo.
Unbelievably good value. I mean, we're selling peaches, beautiful peaches and nectarines for $3 a kilo. It's a joke.
And so we don't have time for all of this, Harry. I know.
Sorry.
Hey, no, don't be sorry. No, I'm not trying to dissuade you from going there. I just don't know where to start or where to take this, because given what I know about what you're doing and so, the wonderful projects you're involved in, I'm going to have to hit you up for a proper interview one day. How's that?
Mm-hmm. That's no worries.
I'll sneak down to Victoria under the cover of darkness, so no one knows I'm there, and we'll have a longer chat. Mm. So, anything else about the conference that you want to just sort of touch on?
Sort of where technology is going and where it can assist.
Mm.
There's I think it was Terry talking about the mineral density of the fruit and veg, and empowering the housewife or the supermarket shopper to be able to make those discerning decisions at the point of sale.
Objective sort of, this is a better peach than that peach.
Mm. And I reckon that once we start getting, someone else was talking about the health consequences of different foods and their fibre and mineral density and how that's all going to play out. And there was one slide saying, beware, it's all coming. And I was thinking, bring it on faster, but sooner the better, because
it's here almost.
And also, everything we're doing in the soil is going to drive that naturally. So it's such a win-win.
Well, when we remove the props and the crutches, of trying to balance the soil with whether it's chemical to wipe out things or it's mineral to add things, in a synthetic sense, things generally fall off. That's the cycle that and I was in, got caught in. But as you say, once you get that soil right, not right, when you're focusing on the soil, which is pretty much the source of all life. At the end of the day, things die in it, things live in it. It's where everything goes through it at some point in their life, beginning or end. Then that's a great thing. And for Harris Farm to be focusing on that, and it's clearly part of your journey over the last number of decades. I mean, you're still a young man, Harry. So when did your regenerative journey start? We're going to get into this interview. We're going to get right into it.
Well, I like to again today, the emphasis on was it's not start, stop. It's continually.
You don't wake up one morning and go, our journey started when we stopped spending money spraying red-legged earthmite 2 years after we started using compost. The Lemat, that good old Lemat.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good stuff. Let's wipe it all out.
Yeah, and then the broadleaf weeds started to drop out and the clover started to come back, and our staff had come and say, well, where's all that come from? Because we didn't sow stable paddock, or we didn't sow East McGregor's, or we didn't sow. And I said, well, you've got to think about that, don't you?
Did you know that was going to happen? Did you were discovering that as it went? Yeah.
Yeah. And that one was an easy one. That was all about calcium.
Yeah, right.
Mm.
Nice.
And stop doing bad.
Well, what did that was Terry's thing, do no harm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. I don't think you can underestimate those words.
Yeah.
In this journey, I reckon stop doing bad. If you do nothing else, just stop doing knowingly. Sorry, I'll say that again. Stop doing bad things that you know about.
Yeah, consciously doing bad things.
Because there's other ways.
And that's what David Marsh always bangs on about. And, and it's absolutely true. And I certainly was still do as much as I can is stop doing things. Step out, stop the spraying. I mean, the big obvious things was, stopping using Lemat on your red-leggeds and, and removing some of those synthetics and whatever else, but actually also not being tempted to step in and disturb. So,
Oh, look, there's heaps of tools and there's simple things that you can do that start the journey, and then you start getting addicted to it.
Yeah, it's pretty compelling stuff.
Oh, yeah. And I'll go to my grave learning.
Are you addicted to it, Harry?
Yep.
You're an addict. Is that a new condition?
I think so.
Is that a disease?
Yeah. I was doing an interview with someone the other day, and she said to me, I said, oh, look, I'll send you some words that our agronomist had sent me about the journey.
Mm.
And I put at the bottom of my text, I said, careful, you'll get addicted.
And did she? I'm just flying around with that.
Sorry. And she texted me back and said, I see what you mean.
Well, I had Courtney McGregor here before from Harris Farm, and we had a great chat. And not that it's new it's new to her in terms of this intensity of coming to a conference with so many compelling stories and speakers, but she's already been in the sustainability space for a long time. But she said she's just overwhelmed, And she was going to come to this last year, but obviously was postponed. And it's compelling stuff. Now, talk about compelling stuff. What do you want to touch on that you touched on? You've had enough thinking time now. You've veered me off the course of your chat this morning. Can you remember any of this morning, or was it just?
I was given the brief to talk about.
Everyone got a bit of hurry up.
It was 15 minutes was too tight.
Yeah,
too tight to relax, get into it.
Yeah.
Start with what I'm going to tell you, do the body of the presentation, and finish up with a summary.
That's it.
And it's a real skill to be able to do that. But our journey was trying to put together two people's stories into our first investment that then led to the sort of interest of others to come in if we've got more property, and then that all led to raising a substantial amount of money and deploying it on 5 assets really quickly. So that was what the story was about.
You've just done it in 30 seconds.
Oh, I know.
You fine-tuned it.
But no, without the fanfare and the detail and the personalities.
How are people going to find out the fanfare if you don't tell me?
The trials and tribulations. No, I'll take 5 minutes. So it was really a coming together in the first instance of two people who knew each other for 30 years and had different skill sets and different interests. Nigel Sharp came out of an industrial property background but had a bent for threatened species rehabilitation. And I certainly came from an inquiring soils mind where I'd moved from conventional through liquid ferts in the first instance to compost, and had built a fairly strong understanding of how the soil worked. We met on a farm that had never had fertiliser, was wall-to-wall native grasses, herbs and forbs. I said it was the worst farm I'd ever seen. He said it was the best farm and told me why. I agreed with him after that, bought the farm, and then we proceeded to commercialise the bits in that farm that we wanted to, which was the native grasses, herbs and forbs. And then others around us that we knew and been involved in other deals with basically said, look, if you had another one of those farms, we'd really like to be involved in that. And then that led to, well, how involved do you really want to be in? So we raised the first round of funding to buy the first asset with a view that we'd need to get it to a critical size. And so our early investors were really innovative and pioneering in there and showed a lot of faith in us.
Yeah. So was this your first venture, like this sort of rounding up fund, a fund like this and then employing it in the ag space?
No, we'd done a few property deals.
Yeah.
But very much 2, 3, 4 people, not 48 investors, which is what we've got now, or 48 names. And so that's what it's evolved to. And each time we found an asset or have been finding assets or opportunities, we've gone back to the investors and more have come in. And so we've been able to continue to grow, and we've got, we're closing another deal right now. We'll do another capital raising, sometime in 21.
Yeah, cool. And you've got, so your list of 5 assets or properties, I guess, businesses there. You had grapes, grape growing. You were saying that they're all going to Japan.
Yep.
You mentioned peaches there. Is that on the same
stone fruit? No, it's not. No.
Yeah.
The stone fruit one's at Cobram, and the table grape one's at Redcliffs near Mildura.
Yeah, nice.
And both beautiful proximity, both perfect for what they're growing.
Yeah, totally.
Table grapes at Mildura is about as good a spot as you can grow them anywhere in the world.
Yep.
And Cobram's pretty damn good for stone fruit.
Are you into olives?
Sorry, yes. And the third farm, we've put 1,000 hectares of olives in. We started that just on 12 months ago. Did it over 2 plantings, 630 hectares and 370, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
So that they're growing extremely well.
And where are they, just in terms of geography?
The geography is there at near Boort in central Victoria.
Yeah, right.
On the Waranga Channel, and so we've got a good supply of irrigation water, and we've done a 30-year offtake agreement with Boundary Bend Olives, who do Cobram Estate and Red Island, and we've also got we retain them for advice.
Yeah,
so we're their Indians, and we do exactly what they say.
That's not like you. And then you got a place in north of Emerald?
Yes, so that's largely a dryland cropping farm on magnificent soil, very, very high CEC soil.
Mm.
We've got about 2,800 hectares of brigalow country on that, which we'll offset.
Okay, is that regrowth brigalow, or is it's all remnant?
Yep.
Really?
Mm.
That's fascinating. Because a lot of brigalow was pulled. Not necessarily there, but
they wouldn't have got in. This is very on the Stevens Creek and the Scotts Creek, and it's very, very steep banks, and there's no way anyone would have been pulling any there
with their D15s or whatever they were, the big chains.
It's a fascinating property because you can actually hold, for chickpeas, we can hold the whole growing season rainfall in the soil.
Get out of here.
Well, post-planting, we'll get an average crop without a drop of rain post-planting.
Just because of the moisture holding capacity. Because you've built it up, or that's just natural?
No. I wish I could say we had, but I think there's room for significant improvement again.
Yeah. That's fascinating. So is that 4?
That's 4, and then the 5th one is in central New South Wales, in between Hay and Balranald, on the confluence of the Lachlan River and the Murrumbidgee River.
That's right.
And it's called the Great Kumbung, or the property name's Juanbung. We own that 50-50 with the Nature Conservancy.
Yeah, nice one.
And it's we're mustering feral goats and pigs and cleaning it all up and tidying it up. And there's a firewood operation on there, which we're trying to get into a sustainable forestry management program.
Yeah, nice.
So it can turn out it's very, very high quality firewood.
So what species is it?
Red gum.
Oh, nice. And is that? Can you hear that background? Maybe they're out. I thought they were coming out at 5:30. Time's getting away. Jesus, look at that, Harry. 17 minutes. See. So any last? That's amazing, and I guess thank you for sharing that because with everyone. Because that's fascinating, and what it does, like a lot of the other stories we've heard last night with Sam Johnson's and today, is that this can be done. Yes, you're on a different scale, and everyone's got their own different experience, and their geography is different. But the innovation and the collaboration, the partnering. Is that one? Do you do the P's, the 3 P's? Is that yours?
We've got the 7 C's.
The 7 C's.
That's 7 C's. That's like I didn't get time to talk about that. I didn't get time to talk about the properties.
You got ding-a-linged off.
I did. But anyway, that's
well, they say the 7 C's for when we sit down and do a proper one.
That's fine.
So thank you again, Harry, for your time. Thank you for your contribution to the conference, and I'm just blown away with everyone's generosity with their time, and to be bothered to sit here with me for 17, nearly 18, nearly 19 minutes. It's pretty tough, isn't it? You got through it. Congratulations. Right. You get a little certificate of appreciation when we finish up here.
Called a beer.
I'll get you a beer. Thanks, Harry.
Righto.
Well, I'm really glad I caught up with those guys and a couple of girls there too, thankfully, at the Albury conference. That was the end of, that's part 2. Next week, we have a fantastic chat with Stuart Andrews, son of Peter Andrews of Natural Sequence Farming fame, back from the Brink book, a number of episodes on Australian Story. And I got to chat with Stuart at the end. It was the morning after, the day before of the last day of the 4-day workshop he did here at Hanamino. Sat down with Stuart and just opened right up, and it was just a lovely chat. So open and transparent and straight to the point is Stuart. So I hope you look forward to that one as much as I did. Recording it, and that's next week on The Regenerative Journey.
This podcast is produced by Rhys Jones at Jaeger Media. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to subscribe, share, rate and review. For more episode information, please head over to www.charliearnott.com.au.